You've spent quite a lot of time watching Portuguese football over the course of the last year or so. So you've seen Darwin Nunez at close quarters. He scored 4 goals off the bench against RB Leipzig. What do you make of him, and can he make an immediate impact?
I looked at Luis Diaz, and people were saying, well, who is this guy? And he's going to take ages. I said straight away, I'm telling you, he's a player. He's going to be a top Premier League player. I didn't quite think he'd hit the ground running as quickly as he did, but I knew he would be very, very good. Darwin Nunez is a little bit of a different type because he's younger, and people will say, look, he's had one really good season at Benfica. But I think when he was at Almeria as well, Luis Suarez spoke to Barcelona and said, listen, get this guy because he's an absolutely superb talent. The Uruguayan manager had likened him to Edison Cavani. I think there's a lot of pressure there, but he's a similar type of player. And it's interesting how, Liverpool and City really have not always had the kind of traditional number 9s, and yet they seem to be going more for this coming season. But he's
Why
not
have they done
just...
that?
Haaland, I think, is a no-brainer, especially with the deal that was set up, £50-odd million. What club in the world would not want Erling Haaland with the talent that he's got and the age he's at? I think with Darwin Nunez with Liverpool, I think Jurgen Klopp saw that Sadio Mane was going. Yes, got Luis Diaz in, but when you've got someone like a Nunez who actually is not just your number 9. This is what people need to realise. He's not just a typical number 9. He can work the channels. He can drop in. He can play on the left, although he's got that big physique. Technically, he's got absolutely everything. And you stick the balls in the box, which is something that Liverpool haven't been able to have in the last few years. He will get on the end of that as well. So that's where the extra dimension is. So why not? You've got a fantastic young talent on the continent that you got a chance of buying. What was it, £80 million?
Well, overall, it will end up being that. I mean, that's with add-ons. It's 64 up front, I think. I
think that's more realistic. And then obviously, if he's really successful, then £80 million looks a snip.
It changes the face of the game, though, doesn't it? Because this is this is 2 players that have come into the top teams and added extra goals to both their 2 already unbelievable lines of fire. I mean, they were the top scorers in the Premier League last season, both of them. I think Joint scored the most goals last year, or very similar sort of defences as well. It takes them further away, does it, from the chasing pack?
Yeah, I think you have to concede that, but it's also a change of styles in both cases. Obviously, Manchester City have won the league without playing with a recognised striker. Now they've got Haaland, so it's interesting to see exactly how he fits into their strategy. And then you've got Nunez, who I also think is more of a throwback.
Very good, Quickie.
More of an old school number 9. Though he can play off the left, but he'd be a different player coming in off the left-hand side to Sadio Mane. So again, it's going to be a test of both Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp's coaching abilities. You look at Jack Grealish, who I think underwhelmed last season, and Manchester City fans tell me that actually you don't really see the best out of a Pep Guardiola signing until the second season. Is there any danger that will be the case with Haaland or not?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these 2 settle in. I think Haaland is more the ready-made player. So you're expecting to hit the ground running. But I remember saying this to Adrian at the end of last season. Just because he's come in and scored the amount of goals, there's going to be a little bit of a shift in style. So how will the team going forward...
So he's got to learn how to work in a Pep team.
Yeah, but does Pep say, well, actually, this is what he's best at? Why buy a player and then not put him in his best position and try and get the best out of him? Which is, again, I go back to Chelsea with Romelu Lukaku. There weren't many people that said that he, at the time, that it's not going to go well.
Well, everybody thought it was the missing piece of the jigsaw.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying in any way whatsoever it's going to go that way, but you still just don't know because the player has to adjust. You're right, Jack Grealish, as good as a player as he is, I agree as well. Got to stop agreeing with you, Crookie, that he was a little bit underwhelming. And the argument for that is, in the real big games, did he start? No, he didn't. So the second season is important, but Haaland, look, stick the ball in the box and he'll finish.
You weren't on with us the other day when Crook tried to cause a little bit of controversy.
He always does.
You may not agree with him here, because the other day he was trying to steer a conversation. We had to shut him down because he was talking nonsense, because he was trying to suggest that maybe Darwin Nunez was not going to be as successful as many people hoped, because he'd made a bit of a mess up against Liverpool and against United. Against United. He'd been mocked on social media following his display in a recent defeat to Red Bull Salzburg on Wednesday, and a compilation of his best bits had gone. His worst bits had gone viral, and Crookie was taking much pleasure in this. We shut him down. We stopped him from talking about it. But
it's the United fan taking over there. It's unprofessional, Crookie.
Could you explain to us why you are concerned about him fitting in?
I'm not concerned. I don't care if he fits in or not, to be honest. But if I was a Liverpool fan, my one worry would be that he's only really had that one season at the top level in European football. That's if you count the Portuguese as the top level. Now, I know you'll counter it with Diaz, and he was exceptional for Liverpool in the second half of last season. But 2 years ago, Brighton and West Ham were both in with a realistic chance of signing Nunez. So 2 years later, all of a sudden, he finds himself right at the top
but
table.
That's football, Crookie.
Yeah,
I mean, how old was he 2 years ago? 20?
Hold on. I know for a fact that Luis Diaz last summer was being offered to similar sort of clubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Diaz has set the benchmark, but I think it's more of a risk when it comes to Nunez than it is to Haaland.
And also the other thing you got to factor in is how did he get on against Leipzig when he came off the bench? Did you see that one?
I didn't see that one, actually.
Did you not?
No.
All right. When he came off the bench, I think he scored. It was 4 goals.
Wasn't one. Wasn't two.
Wasn't
3.
It was definitely 4 goals. I think he scored.
I realise I've just offended Scott there by questioning the standard in the Portuguese league.
Yeah, top league, of course it is. But seriously, looking at Nunez,
you think he's guaranteed to be a success?
No, it's not guaranteed. No one's guaranteed. I find it embarrassing that after a couple of misses, and they must have been United fans who put it on, and I like the rivalry, don't get me wrong, but to suddenly say he's, put on a social media clip of all the misses.
It's clutching at straws,
of course
isn't it? Of course it is.
He's clutching at straws. He's answered in the best possible way.
Because just a quick word on rivalry, because you just mentioned it, and I think we should probably touch on it. Manchester City against Liverpool. Is it nasty enough for you?
Sam wants them to hate each other.
I don't want them to hate each other. I just want it to be a little bit of an animosity.
Yeah, I agree.
2 great teams, 2 wonderful teams, 2 teams that could be Arsenal going at each other forever.
Yeah. United and Arsenal had that kind of, not just great players, but you couldn't wait for them to, Howard Keane go up against Vieira and Keown Van Nistelrooy and all those kind of things. I do think it's a bit too nice, but I think that's the kind of world we're living in now. Where
Henderson, he's going to shake hands beforehand and all.
They'll hug each other, and
it's not the same.
Yeah, before the game you don't do that.
Yeah, no, I want it to be a bit more.
But they are. I think they're the 2 best teams in the world. I mean, how Real Madrid won the Champions League, how they got past PSG, let alone Chelsea and City and Liverpool as well, I don't know. But these are the best 2 teams in the world.